Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today I'll be analyzing the case of Hannah Kobayashi. First, I'll start with the background of this case. It's quite brief. Move to the timeline of the incident, then offer my analysis. Hannah Kobayashi was born sometime around 1993 and lived in Hawaii. She was estranged from her father, Ryan Kobayashi. Hannah hoped to be a photographer someday. Now moving to the timeline of the incident. On Friday, November 8, 2024, 31-year-old Hannah Kobayashi left Hawaii on a trip to New York City. In a handwritten itinerary, Hannah described the trip as, quote, bucket list dreams become reality, unquote. The purpose of the trip was to see a concert in Brooklyn on November 12 and to visit with her aunt. Furthermore, Hannah was going to start her photography career by taking photographs while in New York, and she had all types of other activities planned. Originally, Hannah planned on attending the concert with her boyfriend, but the pair separated prior to the trip. They both still made the trip, but they sat separately on the airplane and did not speak to each other. The flight from Maui, Hawaii to LAX in Los Angeles, California landed at 9:53 p.m. Hannah had a connecting flight to JFK Airport in New York City that boarded less than an hour later. For a reason which remains unknown, Hannah did not board the connecting flight. It appears as though she had enough time to make the connection because her ex-boyfriend was able to board that flight. On Saturday, November 9, Hannah was spotted at a bookstore in the Grove shopping mall in the Fairfax district of Los Angeles. This is just 10 miles north of LAX. She charged her cell phone while she was there. That same day, she spent money using Venmo to two people who her family members did not recognize. It is believed that Hannah went back to the airport after this. On Sunday, November 10, Hannah returned to the Grove and attended a Nike event featuring the basketball player LeBron James. She returned to LAX and spoke to a ticketing agent sometime around 5 p.m. On Monday, November 11, 2024, Hannah Kobayashi once again spoke to a ticketing agent. She was interested in getting a ticket to New York City or to Hawaii. At 9:02 p.m., Hannah was spotted on video surveillance boarding the LAX Metro C line at Aviation Century Station. At Rosa Parks Station, she changed trains and exited at Pico Station at 10:03 p.m. She was with an unidentified person at this time. Pico Station is 16 miles from LAX. The station is close to the Los Angeles Convention Center, the Crypto.com Arena, and the entertainment complex LA Live. It is about 2 miles from Skid Row, but there are other stations that are much closer to Skid Row than Pico Station. While Hannah was on this unusual journey in Los Angeles, after failing to board her connecting flight, she exchanged text messages with friends and family members. Here are a few examples. Quote, I got tricked pretty much into giving away all my funds for someone I thought I loved, unquote. Quote, deep hackers wiped my identity, stole all my funds, and had me on a mind blank since Friday, unquote. Quote, hi loves, I just finished a very intense spiritual awakening. I'm charging my phone and heading back to the airport to get in New York City. I might need some help getting there. It's a long story. I'll keep you posted. I think I still have my hotel room, unquote. Later in that same conversation, Hannah wrote, sorry for the craziness, and was definitely intercepted. On the same day she was captured on video at Pico Station, November 11, Hannah stopped answering her phone. On November 12, Hannah was reported missing to the police. Family members and friends desperately searched for her, including her 58-year-old father, Ryan Kobayashi. Tragically, on November 24, 2024, at around 4 a.m., Hannah's father, Ryan, was found dead at a parking structure on West Century Boulevard, a half mile from LAX. The authorities indicated that he had jumped from the structure. Now moving to my analysis. The disappearance of Hannah Kobayashi has led to many people being concerned about her safety. She had no mental health history and was considered by friends and family members to be a responsible person. Her behavior is out of the ordinary. What could have happened with Hannah? Why did she fail to board the connecting flight? What was she trying to achieve by wandering around Los Angeles? This is just a theory, my opinion. The available evidence appears to point towards some type of mental health episode. Hannah's behavior changed drastically in a short period of time, and this modification did not appear to be caused by anyone else. It was internal. Hannah was in control of her own actions. It wasn't like she was abducted at the airport. Again, nobody forced her to do this. She had been excited about her trip to New York City and dedicated a lot of energy to planning activities there. There is no doubt that she intended on getting all the way to New York. A large deviation in thinking must have occurred for Hannah to skip the connecting flight. She had time to make that flight, but decided not to. Failing to board the flight is consistent with disorganized behavior. Some people who know Hannah suggested that she may not have been the one who sent the text messages because the messages contained no emojis and the wording was different than what Hannah typically used. It's possible that somebody grabbed Hannah's phone and impersonated her, but she was spotted charging her phone on Saturday, November 9. Furthermore, she didn't appear to be in distress when she was captured on video at other times. In my opinion, it is reasonable to believe that Hannah had control over her phone, and she was the one who sent the messages. There are a few terms that Hannah used in her messages which support the idea that psychosis may have been present, specifically delusions. These are fixed false beliefs. For example, Hannah made a reference to an intense spiritual awakening. This is often observed in people with grandiose delusions. When talking to her aunt on the phone, Hannah asked her how she could know it was actually her speaking on the other end of the line. Hannah believes someone could have been impersonating her aunt. This is consistent with having paranoid delusions, which is common with psychosis. There were other references consistent with paranoia, including Hannah stating that she had not slept well for days, she was scared and could not come back home, and deep hackers wiped her identity. Hannah's use of the terms was definitely intercepted, and the matrix are particularly worrisome. The deactivating of the phone may have also been in response to feelings of paranoia, like Hannah did not want to be tracked. The research literature tells us that when a person has their first psychotic break, it is a particularly confusing time. Eventually, many individuals with psychosis learn to avoid behavior that could be dangerous, like they adjust to being psychotic. But when the first psychotic break occurs, there is no frame of reference. They have no idea what is happening, and they tend to heavily invest in the delusional beliefs. Essentially, there's an absence of skepticism, which means they are at the mercy of the delusions. Stressors often precede a psychotic break. Hannah was traveling to the continental United States on a big adventure. Maybe this caused her more stress than she anticipated. If Hannah was psychotic, she would have been in an extremely vulnerable position. In a large city like Los Angeles, it would not take long for a vulnerable person to be exploited. Maybe this explains why Hannah sent money to two people and why she was spotted with a person on the train. Many of the mental disorders associated with psychosis will not resolve by themselves, but the psychosis itself is typically episodic. A person will not remain in a permanent state of psychosis. If Hannah is psychotic, her symptoms should improve at some point, although it could take a while. What's frightening about this case is what will happen to Hannah in the meantime, or what has happened to her. If Hannah had been on Skid Row, she would have stood out. I think the police would have found her there pretty quickly. This, combined with the fact that Hannah was spotted with a stranger, makes it seem like she is somewhere else, perhaps in a residence with that stranger or with another stranger. It's also possible, of course, that something terrible has happened to Hannah and she is no longer alive. Statistically speaking, Hannah should still be alive. Los Angeles is dangerous for a vulnerable person, but not so dangerous that the expected outcome would be homicide. As far as Hannah doing something to herself, there's no indication that she wanted to bring an end to her own life. As far as the death of Hannah's father, Ryan, it does not appear to be related to whatever caused Hannah to go missing, rather just to the fact that she was missing. Being the father of a missing child is very stressful. Ryan was unable to cope with this stress. At least that's one possibility. His death is unfortunate and tragic, but it is not clear how it could have been prevented with the available information. Ryan's behavior was unexpected. Nobody could have seen that coming. Now moving to my final thoughts. If this case did involve psychosis, was there any way to prevent it? Was there any way to predict the psychotic break would occur? Most of the time, prodromal symptoms occur prior to a psychotic break. These are warning signs that psychosis may be on the way. The prodromal symptoms for psychosis include a lack of insight, decreased functioning, vague depressive feelings, a tendency to isolate, being irresponsible, being impulsive, having trouble concentrating, insomnia, difficulty managing stress, paranoia, magical thinking, and bizarre, strange, odd, or unusual behavior. The prodromal symptoms are a little different depending on what mental disorder causes the psychosis. For example, with schizophrenia, prodromal symptoms tend to last for a while, like maybe a year or two, and include flat affect and a decrease in executive functioning. Considering how prodromal symptoms can be used as a warning system, how did the symptoms get missed? Unfortunately, it's very easy to miss these symptoms. First of all, someone has to be available to observe them, somebody other than the person who has them. Second, the symptoms have other explanations. Most people who are impulsive, irresponsible, or have insomnia are not going to develop psychosis. And third, the symptoms themselves can cause a person to avoid mental health treatment. For instance, the paranoia causes people not to engage with mental health counselors. Over the years, during my career as a counselor educator, I have dealt with many people struggling with first break psychosis. My interactions involve direct treatment, supervision, and consultation. I've also worked with many of the family members of people who just had a first break. One thing I've noticed is how, in many instances, the prodromal symptoms were clearly observed by others, but nobody wanted to admit the connection to psychosis. The family members were desperate to find an alternative explanation, like drug use, a romantic breakup, financial stressors, acting out, or the onset of another mental disorder, one unrelated to psychosis, like adjustment disorder. There is a degree of denial which occurs. Certain diagnoses, like schizophrenia, have a massive impact on someone's functioning. It makes sense that family members would not want to recognize what's going on. It is easy to appreciate why people would hope for a different explanation. But at some point, denial can become very destructive. In this way, first break psychosis causes distortion beyond just the person directly affected. Other people are affected as well. Family members may also adopt distorted thinking. In a sense, the delusions may not be contagious, but the tendency to deny reality can easily transmit from one person to another. Those are my thoughts on the case of Hannah Kobayashi. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon.